Hi, I'm Donna Ray.
And I'm Al Wadley.
Welcome to our podcast, Feldenkrais for Life.
In each episode, we will discuss ideas and experiences pertaining to the Feldenkrais Method.
You're going to learn skills that will move pain to comfort, anxiety to ease, and we'll explore learning and how to spark creativity.
To learn more about Donna, visit her site at donnaray.com.
To find Al Wadley, go to achievingexcellence.com. Hi, Al. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Donna. How are you?
I'm good, too. I'm looking forward to this discussion on memory and learning.
I think that's a great topic. These are things I'm very interested in. Of course, we've been talking a lot about learning, and we've mentioned memory a little bit, so we're going to go a little bit more deeply into that, just talk about different forms of memory.
I love the topic, too, for so many reasons. It has to do with things that we've talked about in the past, early childhood education, and learning the Feldenkrais Method. It has to do with strategies of learning and aspects of learning that we've learned through movement from the Feldenkrais Method. Maybe it would be worthwhile to think about infancy and learning. We do know that infants cannot remember what happened before. So they can't remember yesterday, for example, until they're around 2.5 to 3 years of age, because the hippocampus in the brain hasn't developed enough to do so. So there's a point where parents see their kids referring to what happened the day before, and they also start to project forward, like what's going to happen tomorrow, or what's going to happen in 10 minutes, or later on today. So around 2.5 to 3, toddlers are able to do that, and it's a remarkable shift in self-awareness.
It is. It's really interesting the way you describe that, because the child is starting to develop a sense of time, the passage of time, that there's a past and there's a future. They're starting to think ahead, and they're starting to reflect on the past, and remember things that have happened. It's like that is an incredible thing, and how that, as the child develops and grows, that timeline begins to expand and actually start to have much more of a future and much more of a past.
That's right. It's exciting. It increases their capacity to play. They can play with puppets and create dialogue and conversation. And of course, this depends on the development of each child, because some kids begin speaking at, say, 12 months of age, and some wait until they're a few years old. So the timeline with development really depends on the individual. But it's not to say that the infant is not going to remember their infancy. So we know that babies, people, we remember those early years implicitly. They are remembered through sensation. They're remembered when we get a whiff of a pumpkin pie being baked and have a sense of well-being in our grandma's kitchen, for example, but it's not explicit. So we just have this flood of wellness in association, or it could be looking at the sky or having the sunshine warm our body. We have these floods of feeling well from very, very, very early experience. It's kind of remarkable. And sometimes we're overtaken by those sensations.
As you're talking, I'm having memories. And I'm actually remembering being out on the plains in southern Colorado, where I grew up, and having kind of really pleasant sensations related to that. I had a memory of being in my crib, and the wind is blowing. Wind always blew there. I had just single pane windows, and so the wind is whistling through the window, and it's frightening me. And my mother comes in and she says, "It's just the wind. It's just the wind blowing through the windows." And I went, "Oh, it's just the wind." And through that simple interaction I had with her, it made me feel calm and safe. And actually now, even today, when I hear the wind, I feel calm and safe.
That's extraordinary.
Very unusual experience. Most people don't like the wind, but I love it. I love the wind.
Oh, that's beautiful. That vignette of your mom and the wind and being on the plains and being in your crib. It's so vivid. So I wonder if our audience is generating pleasant memories like that. And I want to say something about pleasant memories, because we know that the brain tends to hang on to unpleasant memories because it's an anticipatory organ. The brain is anticipating, and our nervous system wants to keep us safe. So it tends to log difficult, unpleasant situations. And we can have very big categories full of those. And sometimes we say that the brain, the nervous system, is like velcro when it comes to difficulties, and like Teflon when it comes to the pleasant moments. And we want to reverse that, actually, by using our attention. And you just did that. You took that moment and you created it into something that you can always refer to that's pleasant for you and related to the wind.
I think that's a funny and very good analogy, Teflon and Velcro. And you're so right. The nervous system is anticipating, the brain is anticipating. And if there's bad things that have happened, it wants to be prepared for those things to happen again, which is, from a survival mode, makes a lot of sense. But from a way of living comfortably and richly, it's kind of counterintuitive. So you're right. We want to cultivate situations for ourselves where we have more pleasant sensations. We stick those to ourselves and let the other ones slide off. And I think we do that in Feldenkrais lessons. We learn to move our attention away from pain, away from discomfort. We learn to sense good feelings, comfortable feelings, and feelings of well-being. We cultivate those always in Feldenkrais lessons. And you do them over time, and that starts to lay down what is like an implicit memory, not fully conscious, but a sense of well-being that you carry with yourself through time. And I think that's an extraordinary thing about our work.
It's true. We actually mix up implicit and explicit. So we go through processes, and listeners, you can actually pay attention to yourselves while you're listening and create dual attention. So you look for your comfort while you're listening, whether you're sitting or standing or walking, whatever you're doing. Pay attention to what's feeling good right now. What is pleasant in your whole self? Notice your breathing. Continue to sink in to the good feelings, the well-being in yourself as you listen. And continue to develop yourself with this dual attention.
In sensing yourself, say you're standing and you feel your feet on the floor, and becoming aware of those sensations is a pleasant thing. Just learning to sense yourself creates pleasant sensations. When you sense yourself, and even if you sense something that is fairly neutral, like your feet on the floor, those sensations are generally coded in your nervous system as something that's pleasant because it's not pain, it's not discomfort. So it's an interesting sensation. It can be a pleasant sensation. And the more you bring those sensations into the foreground of your awareness, the more pleasant they become.
And that's one of the ways that we can develop our brain, our sense of self, nervous system, however you want to refer to yourself, looking for what feels good. Now, many times when I'm working with people, and I'm sure you have this experience too, people say, but I can't feel the sensation in my feet as pleasant because I have a pain in my neck. The pain in my neck is interfering with me sensing my feet on the ground. It's so big and so strong. And so we, of course, acknowledge it's very difficult sometimes when you have a strong pain to shift your attention to another area of yourself. But it's actually a learnable skill. The pain that we feel and experience is like, especially if it's a new injury, is like a red light going off. It's an alarm system. And it's trying to get your attention because it wants you to create safety in your nervous system. So it doesn't want you to overdo it. It doesn't want you to move in any kind of extreme way. So when we acknowledge the information that we're getting from a pain that feels like a red light, beep, beep, beeping, we can then begin to shift. So you don't try to get rid of it. You just shift your attention to something else. And you begin to play in your own brain using your attention to change your experience.
A couple of things about what you're talking about, how when we're experiencing pain, so there's acute pain, like you're describing something from an injury, and your body, your brain, your nervous system is saying, pay attention to this, be careful. And that's very important. And then there's chronic pain that can develop, and that's pain that is more generated from the brain and the nervous system. And a lot of our clients come in with that kind of pain that's kind of gotten habituated to. And so the pain centers in the brain are overworking and overactive. And so in our lessons, we help them move their attention away from that and start to sense other things that are more pleasant, that are more comfortable, or even just neutral. And by moving attention away from the parts that are perceived as being painful, starts to diminish the activity in the brain. I'd like to share a story with a client of mine. I've been working with her since I got back from New Mexico. It's wonderful to work with her. She's in her mid-70s, and she's had a lot of accidents, a lot of chronic pain. And we're doing a lesson with her just the other day, and she said, wow, I'm having this sensation in my leg, in my thigh. And so I said, tell me what's that about? So, I want to know, is it pain or is it comfort? What is it? She said, no, I'm just starting to feel it. I've never felt these things before. I'm starting to feel the connections between these parts of myself, and it feels really good to feel myself because the activity of pain is going down, and it's allowing her to sense all these other things that are pleasant. And the more she senses those things that are pleasant in herself, the more the pain sensations continue to diminish. And so she's walking better, she's feeling better, she's more active, she has more energy. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to see how this work really helps somebody.
It is a beautiful example, and I want to amplify part of that situation that may not be obvious to others, and that is the trust and care that you're providing in the relationship. So we know that when we're cared for, when people are cared for, it actually reduces pain. And the part of the brain that registers comfort and care from another person, emotional comfort, is the same area of the brain, the cingulate, that responds to physical pain. So that area of the brain is one. So to create the kind of change that you're describing takes place in a caring, trusting, attuned relationship. And that's what we do as Feldenkrais practitioners. We're patient, we're caring. We ask questions like you asked of your student. Tell me more about that, so that you could understand her experience. It's such a special way to be with people.
And by nature of our work, we go slowly, we make slow, small movements. And so we move and we interact with our clients, our students, in ways that really signals to the nervous system that this is a safe place. These movements are safe, and I'm going to take care of you. So if we're really doing our work well, that is an implicit communication in our work. We don't have to state it. We demonstrate it. We do it. Our students experience it, feel it, and that helps cultivate the learning in the lessons.
Well said. That is even taking place during our Zoom classes. When people come back to see the same teacher over and over again, they develop a trusting relationship with the guidance that they're receiving from the practitioner. And it's tremendously meaningful because we get to know those people that are in our Zoom classes and understand what they need, and we tailor make our lessons for them. And they feel that difference. It's different than listening to a generic lesson. And those are tremendously helpful too. But it's different when you have a relationship with your teacher. And then when you listen to their voice again, when it's a recorded lesson, you get the same kind of effect because you trust the individual.
Yeah. When we're teaching online or in person, it's really taking feedback from the class, from the students. We're watching them. We're interacting with them, with our instructions. We're seeing how they do the lessons, seeing how they do the movement, and then varying our instructions to bring everybody along. So it is very interactive, even though it's a group lesson. And even though now they're almost always conducted on Zoom, they're still very much tailored to each individual in the class. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. And so the feeling good part, the shifting attention, amplifying pleasure, goes into implicit memory. And as adults, we shift that over into the explicit zone. So we actually remember the lessons or parts of the lessons. We remember how to take care of ourselves. We amplify well-being. And so we're able to create the bridge from implicit to explicit during our awareness through movement lessons. This is very powerful learning. Another aspect of that is so extraordinary is that after a lesson, we feel well, like we're talking about. You feel tall, you're breathing better, you're feeling just a sense of goodness and refreshed. And oftentimes during a lesson, somewhere in the back of your mind, a problem is being solved. And you haven't been putting your attention there at all. But you get up, you walk around, and you think, okay, I want to reorganize the books on my shelves. It's been in the back of my mind forever. But now I really want to do it, and I have an idea of how to do it. It's so much fun to have these awakened moments.
An organized mind and an organized nervous system will help create an organized environment. You'll make better choices about how you organize the world around you, how you interact with it. Because if you're feeling comfort on the inside, you're going to start to shape your external world to be more comfortable for you.
Yeah, and paying attention to this stuff is life-changing. You walk through your own home or you go to bed at night in your bedroom and you just feel really good. And there's a lot being said about that these days because of people being sequestered. They're in their homes and they're paying attention to details that they may not have paid attention to before. More cleaning, more discarding of things is happening now than ever. But it's Maria Kondo, I think, is the name of the author and woman that now even has a television show helping people evaluate their environment. And one of the things she says is it's like take an object and sense it, feel yourself, the meaning of it. Is it giving you joy? And if it's not giving you joy, then it may be time to discard it. And if you're not ready to get rid of it, put it in the pile of maybe I'll get rid of it. Because sometimes it's difficult for people to let go.
Yeah, and home improvement sales are just off the charts. Mm-hmm. Home Depot and Lowe's and hardware stores are doing great right now. So people are taking on all those projects at home to improve the quality of their environment, to make them more comfortable for themselves.
Yeah, and you know what? That reminds me of one of our other podcasts where you were sharing that you'll use awareness through movement to organize yourself before you go and work doing those kinds of improvements with your own home. If you're going to be lifting, twisting, doing something that's physical and maybe a little bit more strenuous than what you're used to, you organize yourself well, which creates safety so that the way that you do those tasks is going to make you feel good and strong, not have difficulty later, pain, discomfort from misusing yourself.
So true. So true. It is one of my favorite things is to do physical labor like that, to build things, create things, do landscaping. And I treat, as best I can, those activities as an awareness through movement lesson.
So one of the reasons that we're motivated to do awareness through movement is that we remember feeling good afterwards. Because sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to lay down. I don't want to take the time. I mean, we all have these mental processes that keep us from doing the things that we know are good for us. But if you focus on the outcome of feeling well, it's extremely motivating.
As you do awareness through movement, you do it over time. Your brain, your nervous system start to make generalizations from the experiences you're having. Even though the lessons may all be very different, there's similarities in the way we do them. And your brain and nervous system cannot help but start to make connections between these lessons about how to move more efficiently, how to move more comfortably, how to move more powerfully with less effort, and how to make better decisions about what you're planning to do, about what you're going to do. So it's a really powerful way to learn. I guess you'd say that those are laying down those implicit memories. So they're more outside conscious awareness. They come into consciousness a little bit, but subconsciously, unconsciously, you're making these generalizations, these broad learnings about yourself, how to move, how to feel well, how to interact with your environment and the people around you in ways that are really comfortable and productive.
And as you're speaking, I'm remembering that an aspect of learning is that we create a category so that we have associations and our experience goes in that category. And often when teaching the Feldenkrais method to new people, introducing the method, they want to put it into another category. Oh, that's like Tai Chi. Oh, that's like yoga. And I ask them to wait and to create a new category or a new file to reference, because it's actually not like those things at all. I mean, there may be similarities. There's slow movement. There's paying attention to sensation. There's paying attention to comfort. But when you create the category of awareness through movement, the Feldenkrais method, and you start to put your experiences in there, when you're referencing, do I want to do a lesson now? You go to that category and think of those experiences. You don't think about those other things that you've experienced that may be somewhat similar. But it takes some time to build that category. So you go into the category with implicit experiences of feeling well, moving slowly, sometimes slow to fast. Like you said, there's a variety of movement lessons that we have to offer and experience. And then the well-being that we have afterwards and the sense of self-organization that is at a higher level than when we started the lesson, always, in fact. So now you have a brand new category. What is the Feldenkrais method? And all these things fall into that category.
Yeah, I have the same conversations with people. It's kind of entertaining in some ways, especially if somebody's like interviewing you and they really don't know anything about the Feldenkrais method and they're trying to fit it into a category. And they're, well, is this like Tai Chi? Is this like yoga? Is this like physical therapy? Is this like chiropractic work? I'm like, no. Well, what is it? It's something unique unto itself. There's nothing else like it.
It's true.
Sure, there's a little bit of overlap. Feldenkrais, riffed on yoga postures and made some lessons out of that. And there's relationships to martial arts and all this thing. But really, the constellation of the work is unique. And it is a category of experience unto itself, unparalleled to anything else, as far as I'm concerned.
As you describe that, I hear your excitement about it. And I know that you and I both, for so many years, have relied on the Feldenkrais method. And I was talking to my husband the other day, and we were asking each other questions that had to do with the review of the year and various things. And he said, one of the things that I know to be so important to you and that you're so excited about is seeing in your daily life how the Feldenkrais method amplifies your experience, how it fits in, and how important that is to you. And I'm thinking from the point of view of the Feldenkrais method, probably 99% of the time, because it brings me such joy and awe. But it was so heartwarming to hear that from my husband. It's being seen and understood. And he enjoys the Feldenkrais method too. He did right from the beginning. He understood immediately how it was a dynamic system approach to learning and how complex it was. So I hope that all of you will tune in again to our podcast and again write us questions to Feldenkrais for Life. Check out our websites. Let us know what you're thinking.
And just as a reminder, both Donna and I have Zoom classes. We talked about Zoom classes today, and Donna has, how many classes are you teaching now?
One class for the general public currently, Monday evenings, 5 p.m. I'm here in San Diego, so it's Pacific time.
I'm teaching Mountain Time, Tuesdays, 10 a.m., and Thursdays, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. is a chair class. So we're working in, on, and around chairs. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll tune in for the next podcast, and we'll have more fun things to share with you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Donna. See ya.
If you'd like to follow up with a question, send an email to info@feldenkreisforlife.com. We would love to hear from you.
You can learn more about us on our websites.
You can find Al at achievingexcellence.com.
You can visit my site to join my classes and reach out to me for private lessons online or in my Longmont studio. You'll find my store, the Feldenkrais store, there as well. We can purchase books, audio products, and videos. Donna's website is donnaray.com.
And if you visit my website, you'll find that I'm offering individual sessions, group classes in the Feldenkrais Method, mentoring groups, professional Feldenkrais training program information, and recorded lessons.
Thank you again so much for joining us. I look forward to you hearing us next week.
Bye now.
Bye.